Hello and welcome to the Oikos Family Podcast, episode number 35. I want to thank you for joining me. My name is Sonja Wood and I am really thrilled that you stopped by to listen to this podcast because it's just wonderful for me to know that you are listening. So thank you for that. But it's also exciting because of the fact that I want to talk to you some more about audiobooks. Now, I know I've spoken about them in episode 34, and in actual fact, I even shared an excerpt from a Learning Lifestyle Diary with you. And also previous podcasts, I've chatted to you about these audiobook productions. Now, the reason why I want to talk a little more about it today is because it's just very, very thrilling to us that we are able to provide you with books that we have written very many years ago. We are now able to provide you with the audio version of that book. So you can now consume it. You can listen to these audiobooks, in various ways, by when you're waiting in your car, or when you're traveling, or when you're making dinner, whatever it might be, with this wonderful technology that we've got now, whereby you can download this audiobook and you can listen to it on your phone and however you actually find it most convenient to you. And the reason why it's so exciting is because when we wrote these books a long time ago, whether they were books specifically for home educating families or just encouragement books, or in the case of our daughter Missy, who wrote short stories while she was being home educated, instead of writing an essay, which was part of her language lessons, she wrote a short story. That's just a short example. But I mean, I could actually speak to you a very long time about this topic because it's so exciting to me that right now, all these years later, we're sitting here and we have this technology to enable us to put these books into production and create audiobooks from the books that we wrote. And what's even more exciting is our son, James, has actually narrated the book that his sister wrote, one of the books, Missy short stories. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share with you again some excerpts from a book that has recently been produced called Oikos Ministry Messages. And I'm not going to do this on every podcast. I'm not going to every next podcast, today's one and the next one and the next one. I'm going to be talking to you over and over and over about this audiobook production that we're doing. But I just wanted to finish today with it. In fact, today being episode 35 and having spoken about it in episode 34, I did just want to let you know that Oikos Ministry Messages, which as you hear by the title, has been created to support you and help you. So when it was written by Missy, actually, she wrote this book as well many years ago. I have now narrated it, and because the podcast, the Oikos Family Podcast, is all about supporting you on this journey of home education and your learning lifestyle, these books that I'm speaking about on the podcast are very specifically books that were written for that purpose, to support you and help you. So that is why I'm excited about telling you about them on the podcast, because on the podcast, I can just chat to you about them. But the actual narrated audiobook is giving so much more than that, as in it's the whole book narrated, read aloud for you to listen to whenever is convenient to you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop in a little piece of the Oikos Ministry Messages narrated book for you, the audiobook. If you want to listen to more or you want to consume the whole book, I think it's about 2 hours in total, the narrated audiobook. You can get this audiobook by just, as I've said before, just going onto the Oikos website, go to store and go to the audiobook category and you'll see it there. Or failing which, you could just go into Google and just put Oikos Ministry Messages audiobook, and I'm sure it's going to pop up and you'll be able to just go to wherever it is most convenient to you to be able to go and get this book. So let me just share a little piece of it with you now. Bedtime all. The authoritative female voice permeated through the room as a mother stood, a long, elegant finger on the light switch, watching as a gathering of heads bent over the puzzle, eyes intent and hands desperate to place a few more pieces before they retired to their inviting pillows. Lamplight floated over the mesh of heads, gently weaving its golden hue through different tones of hair. Brunettes shone as they soaked in the warm light. Blondes added a trickle of golden thread to their honey shade, and the raven black hair vibrated with a radiant glow which lit the room with its splendor. The elegant lady stood, trying to resist the smile that begged to be turned loose, her eyes resting with complete enjoyment over the clustered heads. Her heart rejoiced to know that her dear children were surrounded by such wonderful, supportive friends. The smile broke free as she stood reveling in the moment she knew would stay with her long after the gathering had sought their beds. Determination to see them all well rested again took hold, and she banished the smile. With steady resolve, she raised her voice over the tidal wave of laughter that was rumbling around the room, as frantic hands collided and pieces began to fly. The lights are going out in 30 seconds, so I suggest you make your way to your beds quickly. Her threat was met with a squeal from the girls and a rush of hands from the boys as they battled to place a few more puzzle pieces. True to her word, within 30 seconds the room was engulfed in blackness. Groans of disappointment filled the space, followed closely by giggles and laughter as the young people bumped and crashed, trying to decide which way to travel that would result in the least amount of injury. A few minutes passed in this manner, then pleas for the light floated towards her. They were so mournful she could not deny them. Keeping her authoritative tone, she stated her terms to light being allowed back into the room. I will switch them back on if you make your way straight to your rooms. No more puzzling tonight. Are we agreed? Agreement was quick to come, and soon the room was once again filled with light. True to their word, they stepped away from the coffee table that was filled with the puzzle and began the nighttime farewells. Hugs were shared, then the group dispersed, making their way to their beckoning pillows. One person lingered behind, however, eyes locked with fervent intent upon the half-made puzzle. Her smooth brow creased into a frown, her eyes harnessed a faraway look. A carefully manicured finger pressed lightly against her lips. The overall effect resulted in making her look like one lost in her own world and swamped by their thoughts. A gentle hand came to rest upon her shoulder, followed by her mother's questioning tone. "Missy, are you all right?" With effort, she dragged her eyes away from the coffee table and brought them to rest on her mother. Her mouth opened to form an answer. Then she realized she did not know what her answer should be. Instead, she just molded her lips into a smile. "You look very far away. What are you thinking about?" Another question bombarded her confused thoughts. A small voice in her head suggested that she answer truthfully. So with a voice as confused as her features, she voiced the only answer she could. "I don't know. It was a mixture of things. I think it's something important, but right now I don't know how to put it into words. I'll let you know as soon as I can." Understanding filled her mother's eyes, and she knew that she needed to say no more. Mother and daughter indulged in a prolonged good-night hug, then parted for the night. No more words were needed. So here we are again back at the podcast. Once again, thank you for being there, for listening. It's really wonderful that you are, and I just thank you for being there. And I want to encourage you to let other people know about these podcasts, because if you are finding them supportive or helpful, it would be great if others could also get that support and help. So how I'd like to just end on today's podcast is to encourage you with the theme that we are going to be focusing on through October for you, and that is organization and just order and being organized. I just thought it was a good opportunity to remind you of this, because we've just entered into spring in September. Well, that's in South Africa, that is, because these podcasts are produced here in South Africa. And I don't know where in the world you are while you're listening to this, but September is spring for us here in South Africa. So I thought what would be a good idea is to focus on organization and order, and just encourage you in that, because October we're going to be focusing on bringing encouragement to you about order. You might be aware from a previous live streaming or series we've done, like I'm thinking of a learning lifestyle series that we did. I've spoken in the past about how we've taken certain months and made a theme out of that month. This is something we've just done during our home education learning lifestyle years. So for us, September, being spring, was always an event. On the 1st of September was the first day of spring, and so we did something very specific on the 1st of September always that was pertaining to spring. And October is about order, just simply because it's October starting with an O, and then order or organization or orderliness is a theme that we used for October. And in that, it was a follow-on from spring, because in spring we just had fun and enjoying the flowers, and it encouraged and motivated us to do a spring clean. Now, everybody knows about spring cleans, but we started September by just enjoying spring as in it being a month of celebration of spring having come after the winter. But when October came around, it was time to settle down into getting things into a bit of order. And so, as you might be gathering, September was a time of spring and celebration, and then October was a time to get order. And so what I'm going to do through October for you is I'm just going to be keeping this theme of order and orderliness going, and just in the hopes that it'll encourage you in that very topic and that very theme of just getting organized and just getting order in your home and order around you and teaching your children about order. Of course, we've got Konos. That's got a whole unit on orderliness, because that was our lifestyle. We lived Konos. And so when October came around, I would be reminded it's our month for orderliness, and I would dive into the Konos manual and just see if there's some activities that we hadn't done from previous times that we had done orderliness, and maybe they were a little bit advanced for when the children were younger and now they're older. And so this is another whole topic I'm going into now, but you can probably gather from that Konos is just an ongoing, year by year. It never gets old, and we never got tired of it, and we never ran out of being able to use it, as in, you can't do all the activities because there's just so many of them, and they are age, for whatever age your children are, is the activities you pick for their appropriate ages at the time. So that is why when October would come around, I would go and look at the Konos manual, and I would see what activities there were there in orderliness that we perhaps hadn't done, or even ones that we had done that it was good time to redo them. And I have to say that I am bearing the fruit of this now, because I am very, very blessed, because I have children that are adults now, and they're incredibly organized, and they have tremendous order in their lives. And it's just such a huge blessing. I just see it as one of the fruits that you might not be seeing fruit right now when you're in the midst of training and teaching and coaching. You know how it is. You wonder if there's going to even be fruit, because maybe you're feeling a little wary of teaching the same thing and wondering if your children if you're ever going to see the fruit of that specific thing that you are teaching. And that is why I think we used to use themes, and we used to use specific months or seasons as prompts and reminders for us just to keep revisiting that very thing. So October was order. So when October came around, I was reminded we better revisit order again. Let's see if there's areas in our household, in our personal lives, where we can focus on order again, and just see that we have order in our home and order in ourselves and order in our education and whatever it might be. So this podcast, it was to encourage you with the Oikos Ministry Messages little book, that audiobook that we have done for you. It's got some nice stories in there for you to be encouraged with, I hope, or encouraged in. And I look forward to sharing with you more about order through the month of October. For now, thank you again. I'm sure you have realized by now how much I appreciate you being there and listening to these podcasts while I sit and chat to you. So be blessed and have a wonderful week, and I look forward to sharing with you at episode 36. Bye for now.